Good morning. It's finally here, UFC 300. Are you excited for Kayla Harrison versus Holm? That's probably the fight I'm most interested in on this card. And I did do an extensive breakdown of Holm versus Kayla Harrison. I'll put up the link right here, and it's over 40 minutes. So I will also bookmark it so you can click on whichever section you're interested in and just jump to that. But just to quickly revisit this matchup before it happens, I broke down Holly versus Kayla on 3 criteria originally. The size difference in terms of their frame, technical difference in terms of their skill set, and mindset. And today I'm just going to do a brief overview, brief update, and add one more category, which is experience. So first category, the frame or their size, that doesn't change obviously from my original breakdown. The only thing is I did say, well, what if Kayla doesn't make weight? Well, she made weight, so that's no longer a point. She did look quite gaunt on the scale. I mean, her face was super sucked in, but Kayla does have over 24 hours to rehydrate, and I'll assume that the same team that was effective in helping her cut probably 30 pounds will also help her rehydrate correctly in that 24-hour period between weigh-ins yesterday, Friday, and the fight Saturday night. So, you could also see the difference in terms of just musculature between Kayla and Holly. Not that necessarily is going to play a difference, because we're not in a bodybuilding competition, right? We're in a fight. And to her credit, of course, Holly always comes in and makes weight. She's got a slight height advantage. I just think that Kayla has that bigger upper body. So if it gets to the ground, that could be definitely an issue for Holly. But in terms of skill set, technical comparison, that doesn't change either. So I said in this video that basically Holly has the technical advantage. Clearly she's the superior striker, but I also feel that Holly is not only the superior striker, Holly's also the better at Holly is better at grappling than Kayla is at striking, if that makes any sense. So Holly is the greater at her lesser skill set than Kayla is. Kayla's striking is really fairly beginner level. There's probably a number of reasons for that, but I mean, first and foremost is just time on task, time under tension, time in grade, however you want to put it. Kayla just hasn't spent enough time putting in the time to learn how to strike correctly, and then you got to put in a lot of bag time and spar hard to figure out if your striking's effective or not. The third criteria was mindset. Now I'm going to wrap up with that. So let's go back to this sort of technical kind of overlaps with experience. So here's the thing with Holly Holm. She's been fighting professionally for over 2 decades, and Kayla really started her pro fight career with her MMA career. So I'm referring to Holly's experience as a professional boxer. She started in the early 2000s, professional boxing, and then just continued through transition to professional MMA. So it's not just a question of, she has all these fights under her belt as a professional striker and as a professional MMA fighter. It's also the amount of training it takes in order to prepare for all those fights, right? That's kind of what I'm pointing to in terms of the big gap between Holly striking and and Kayla's striking. I just don't believe it, it's really possible to shortcut that experience you get from developing your fist, conditioning your hands, conditioning your body by having to wail on that heavy bag, not just for how many minutes a day, how many minutes per workout, how many workouts per week, but we're talking months and years. It does actually take years to develop and strengthen your fist for proper striking in order to be able to hit with these first two knuckles. It's not going to happen in the first month. It may not even happen, really in the first year, although you should hopefully be able to get the technical aspect a little bit closer. But it's just like weight training, in order to develop real strength. It's a 6-year project. It's not like a 6-month project, 6 weeks project, 6 workout project. It's going to take years. And I believe that, hitting the heavy bag is a form of strength training. And then it takes years to develop the muscles and the bone structure, ligaments, all of that to throw effective strikes. So I don't think we should discount that disparity. Again, even though Kayla might look sharp in videos hitting the mitts with somebody, that's completely deceptive, because it doesn't show you anything about can she actually land those punches in live time on an opponent effectively. And here's another aspect I'll add to that. So hand in hand with the heavy bag work is the tough sparring. So at some point in your career, you do need to spend some time with very challenging sparring, which basically is almost at the level of a fight in the gym with headgear and bigger gloves. The only difference, as my trainer Lennox Blackmore used to say, was only difference between sparring and the fight is you're not gonna finish somebody off in sparring. You're gonna just dial it back a bit, because the whole point of the sparring session is to get the work in, get the rounds in. You need a certain number of sparring rounds under your belt to prepare for every fight. Okay, so I'm gonna sort of question whether or not Kayla's been subjected to those hellacious sparring sessions, simply because she kind of came into the MMA world kind of already with a certain amount of status. She was signed with Ali Abdulaziz, that manager, fairly prominent, successful manager. I think she signed with him almost right off the bat, and so she didn't have to work her way up from sort of absolute ground zero to in the MMA world. She kind of entered at a already somewhat elite level, making her way, being accepted right away into American Top Team and working with some top level coaches. But when that happens sometimes with a fighter, they sort of start out their career as someone who's already a so-called commodity. Trainers are sometimes hesitant to put them through the gauntlet. Now, everybody else, we get put through the gauntlet because coaches and trainers want to see if they should even spend any time with us, right? Like, does this person have the character that it's going to take to be a fighter? Because if they don't, I'm not spending any wasting my time on it. Because let's face it, at the beginning, especially in amateurs, a lot of coaches are just basically volunteering their time effectively. So why should they waste it on someone who's just not coachable or doesn't have any cojones in the ring, All right, so I'm saying all that to say, has Kayla Harrison been subjected to really hard sparring, striking wise? Because for sure, I'm sure Holly has, and then she's also got so many fights under her belt that's also just adds to her arsenal. It adds to her understanding herself as a fighter. It adds to her skill set, because every time you fight, you learn something and you kind of slowly ratchet yourself up in confidence and in mental sharpness in terms of understanding what's going on in the ring, and also technically. So, clearly Holly has the advantage in terms of professional experience and perhaps, well, also training experience. So finally, that kind of leads me to mindset, and so I will comment on something that, or a couple things that Kayla has said in this sort of promo build up to this. Now, of course, this is on camera. Maybe Kayla is trying to, come up with catchy sound bites, but she did say in one promo that, oh, MMA, it's like judo on steroids. And I would say I'm a little concerned about that, because if that's how you're going to view MMA, like I just have to take my judo and add a little more juice to it, then that's kind of being in denial about the whole striking aspect of MMA. And that's not something. I just don't feel like that's the correct way to look at MMA. You have to have a little more respect for the art of striking. It's just as deep as grappling or judo, and you could obviously devote your whole entire lifetime to either art and never master everything. You just won't. That's the nature of any martial art. So I think that's a little bit cautionary if Kayla just thinks of MMA as judo on steroids. The other thing that kind of concerned me was in her post-weigh-in interview with I can't remember. It was Michael Bisping and two other fellows, and she said something like she made a bet with her coach Mike Brown that if she knocks Holly out, Kayla gets to power slap her coach Mike Brown. And I'm thinking, holy cow, like, really? That's kind of an odd bet, but and I'm sure she and Mike Brown just did that all in good fun, but it's a little bit presumptuous to think that you could knock out Holly Holm. I don't know. It's just my take on it. I don't see that happening. Of course, in a fight, anything's possible, but maybe Kayla will surprise us with something and be able to get a stoppage. I don't see her getting a one-punch knockout on Holly or a one-strike knockout on Holly, but it's possible she could wear her down so much, tying up in clinches and with grappling, that she's able to catch a flurry of punches and maybe earn a stoppage. But in all honesty, no. I in this fight I give the advantage to Holly, mainly because of, hey, the fight starts standing up. She's by far the superior striker, not just hands but also feet, and she just has the experience and savvy of having been there already, been there, done that, as they say. She's a UFC veteran, and last but not least, I thought that final face-off was kind of telling, because Holly's very very low-key, soft-spoken. She doesn't try to come up with a lot of cute sound bites, and just comes across to me as very sincere. But in that final face-off, when Holly and Kayla stood to face each other, Holly just put up her jukes right away, and Kayla didn't. And so I thought, it's kind of interesting, because it's the first sort of assertive, aggressive move that we see from Holly in this whole build-up, because the camera's mostly been on Kayla, right? So just in that final moment, I thought that was pretty cool that Holly chose to say, hey, I'm here, She stepped to her, so she did it without any words, just did that face-off pose, two dukes up, looking her in the eye, and Kayla just kind of didn't put her hands up and just looked back. So I'm wondering if that tells us a little something about how this is going to play out tonight. So who do you have in this fight? Do you think Holly's going to win? Do you think Kayla's going to win? How do you think either woman will win? Please let me know in the comments below, and thank you for listening.